Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have Luke Cage. This is originally a Marvel series that premiered on Netflix back when uh, everybody was just sort of putting Marvel stuff everywhere. It was not yeah, sure, we had Marvel Studios that had been acquired by Disney, but the Marvel television was out separately under, now I've already forgot, Jeff Loeb. Um, it was out technically, between Luke Cage and Iron Fist and Jessica Jones and Daredevil, the Defenders, basically. Um, One version of the Defenders from Marvel Comics. We basically got a number of series that were a bit more mature than you'd get in even a Marvel movie at the time. And, I still had X-Men and Fantastic Four and Ghost Rider and, well, not Daredevil anymore, but over at Fox, and we had Spider-Man over at Sony. This is in the age before Disney started buying everything up, before Fox properties came home to roost, before they just shut down the entire TV spin-off things, showing, Cloak and Dagger and Runaways off on Freeform or whatever it was, all these shows on Netflix, things just flying everywhere, where you're not really sure whether they were all connected. They're supposed to be connected. They make references. This one does a lot of references to the incident, which is what everybody calls the alien invasion under Loki in the first Avengers film. There's a number of just straight up references, while those films would certainly never be referencing the television properties. Yeah, it's just the way it was back then. Now, these characters, everything has been moved under the MCU proper, under Kevin Feige, and they're on Disney Plus. This is 2 seasons long. It's from 2016, and it stars Mike Colton as Luke Cage, Power Man, which there is a reference or two to, usually visual references. The highlight of yellow, by the way, the back color here is supposed to be yellow. It comes off as a weird green. I don't know why. It's not his fault. It's just, see how yellow that is compared to that's, yeah, I don't know. Either way, it's supposed to be yellow. His costume back in the day was a bright yellow, it almost felt like a highlighter yellow, with a high collar and a silver headband. Yeah, and I think he had chains on his wrists every so often, which feels a little Kunta Kinte. Maybe I'm mixing that up from Roots. But yeah, no, I think he did tend to use a chain a lot. And understand that this is a character originally created by white guys during the height of the blaxploitation era in the early 70s. He was created in 1972, and it was back to back with the whole kung fu exploitation. No, I don't know. There's a big kung fu craze at the time, and that's where a bunch of white guys wrote a story about a white guy who learned kung fu and teamed up with this black guy who then fought crime, but only if you paid them. They were the heroes for hire. So yeah, that was an interesting time. But it made for selling comics. While they've never made it to the top of the list when it comes to the big names in the movies or anything else, they've had a strong following from the early ages. They appeared in a number of magazine-style comics, magazine-sized comics that were a lot less censored, let's say, a lot less censored than your average comic books. Yeah, there's different rules for comics back then. So, but in this, we get Mike Colton as Luke Cage, and he is a guy, his origin is pretty much the same. Where we saw him before in the Netflix universe, was in Jessica Jones. I believe she came out first. Didn't she? Or did she? Yeah, I think he made a cameo and then they hooked up. And let's be clear. This guy is as reluctant as he seems to be about it, just hooks up. He just gets it. He does. He gets it. So anyway, he He is a man on the run, in a sense. He's settled down in Harlem again, where everybody knows who he is. But a handful of people know that he has come back changed, come back from prison changed. We don't get the full story on his history right off the bat on the first episode. I have watched this entire series along with all the other Defenders related series. I just haven't watched them in a while, and so I just watched the first episode, the pilot episode, and we get where we find him. He's just sweeping up hair at the barbershop. He's serving drinks or washing dishes at a club in Harlem, and through all this, he's just keeping a low profile, getting paid under the table, barely making rent, and he's doesn't want trouble because there's a feeling that we get the feeling that when he left prison, it was everybody wasn't cool with that. So, why he didn't just go to, if he went to Kansas, he would stand out unless, but he could have gone anywhere. But I guess Harlem was his home, and that's where he hung out. So, excuse me. I still have a cough and no edits, because it's just a pain in the butt. So what we get here is him. We get an idea of his character. This is all about just understanding who he is as a man, despite everything he's gone up against. Whether he's been framed for a crime he didn't commit, is he going to step out at the risk of his own freedom and his own life? Will he take that risk, step out, and in defense of those in his neighborhood? Meanwhile, the people in his neighborhood aren't so great, some of them. There's power brokers, one of which, I forgot his name. Why is his name not listed high up in the list? Come on, man. I feel really bad about this. But yeah, the big bad guy in this is Cottonmouth. Now, that seems like a really strange name. Well, in the Marvel Comics, there is a number of characters that are snake-themed in their title. He does not dress up as a snake, thankfully. You can take him seriously, because he's a pretty scary guy. He's pretty intense. Why isn't he ranking higher in this thing? There he is. Oh, Mahershala Ali. Oh, you know who? Blade? The Blade who may never come to theaters, never get filmed? I don't know. I wasn't sure of how to say the first name, so seeing it written. Anyway, he meets up with Alfre Woodard. He owns a club. He's a gangster. He's a criminal. Alfre Woodard, she is a councilwoman for Harlem, trying to do the best for the neighborhood. They make strange bedfellows, not literally, but in the sense of business. Well, money needed is sometimes acquired in mysterious ways, and a lot of people lose their blood that way. In this whole process, some younger people from the neighborhood that are connected to Cage get mixed up in things. At least one of them. One or two. But by the end of the episode, there's not many left. And will Cage stand up and do what's right? Yeah, I think that's a thing I can spoil. I think you can pretty much figure that out. How he's going to get engaged in these things? Well, you'll have to watch to find out. And, of course, what's his superpower? Is it just being a real tough black guy? No. It is the fact that he has bulletproof skin. He had an experiment done upon him while in prison, and he's essentially bulletproof, which is not a small statement to make, even in today's culture. 70s, 80s, 90s, 21st century. It's still just the fact that there's a black man who's bulletproof. For some people, it has to be the scariest thing. Think about it. So we get just a fantastic cast, fantastic soundtrack, just some real subtle performances. Not, I don't know if it's subtle, but I can't say restrained either, but there's no comic booking, there's no villains, and there's no heroes. There's none of that going on. It's about people, real people, making the right choices or the wrong choices that leads to the drama we get to enjoy. So definitely worth checking out. This is one of the better ones. I mean, everybody tends to go towards Daredevil, at least the first season of Jessica Jones. Most people are not talking about Iron Fist, but still, especially this first season of Luke Cage, people are really enjoyed. So it's one stacked with fantastic actors, and it's just worth watching. And again, there's other characters that show up that are not part of the main Defenders group. You get Rosario Dawson making her appearance here and there across all these series as the night nurse, even though I don't know if she's actually called that at any point, but that's who she is. And that's a character that almost pre-exists Marvel Comics, technically. It's an early romance comic era thing that I think Brian Michael Bendis brought back in the early 2000s. And we also get, I'm not going to spoil you about a certain other character, but Theo Rossi, who you might know from the Sons of Anarchy, plays a guy named Shades as a nice foil to our hero. They share a past. And, we get, sheesh. I think Turk shows up in this. Whenever you see, by the way, there's a character named Turk that is one of the street level bad guys in the Marvel Comics. Whenever you see him, it's usually because he's just doing his same old criminal thing, but he ends up being the butt of a number of jokes. He's dangerous when he's written that way, but there's a lot of time that he gets in over his head, because if Daredevil shows up or if Luke Cage shows up to really they want to find something out, Turk usually knows, and he gets a little roughed up. And it usually leads to a humorous roughed up, because he's a man who's looking for power and wealth, and he always fails at it, because the heroes who are steps above him in power just use him as a punching bag half the time. Not that he doesn't deserve it. It's just, he's a great recurring character in the comics and in the shows. One other thing, Simone Messick, she plays Misty Knight, even though her name is not, I don't think they use her name at all in this, but eventually we discover it is Misty Knight, who also, I believe, came out of that blaxploitation era as well. So she and along with Colleen Wing, who we see in the Iron Fist show, they create their own Daughters of the Dragon kind of thing, which is the female equivalent of Iron Fist and Luke and Power Man, just doing the whole kung fu and blaxploitation thing. So, by the way, if you're wondering if this if there's ever been an evolution of the character, is he just running around with a big yellow shirt, V-neck, and a crown in the comics? No, he's not. He is currently in the comics the mayor of New York City, believe it or not. He took that title after he was voted into office after winning over the Kingpin. Yeah, the Kingpin was at once the mayor of New York City in the comics over the last 8-10 years or so-ish. The time doesn't move the same way there as it does here. But if you watch the end of Echo, well, it should be interesting to see how that all works out. Might feel a hint of that future coming to play. He does not become, Luke Cage does not become mayor at all in this series. And by the time we ever see a Luke Cage series and character or series again in the MCU, Mike Colton may or may not return. He's shown no interest in coming back, but a lot of people have said that, so who knows? All I know is it's an interesting character, and it's not treated in a cheesy way, and it's well done. It's all well done all around. Let's pick tomorrow's episode. And if you're worried, though, this as a parent, this is not a kid's show. It is much sexier. It's not the same thing as Captain America or Ms. Marvel or anything else. It is very, very mature, let's just say, between the violence and the sex. And yeah, so yeah, it's in the language. Just be aware. Not for kids. Number 129 is what we got. Did I show that to you already? 129? Yeah. I just haven't looked it up. I don't have to scroll far though, apparently. Oh, wow. I've been wanting to get to this. By the way, there's a lot of Beatles content on Disney Plus and coming to Disney Plus in the next few weeks. Martin Scorsese's done a documentary recently. I mean, he's going to be on Disney Plus. But this is another documentary, excuse me, that's not the Peter Jackson one. This is something else. This one's called Let It Be. So, I'm hoping I can blow my nose before I do my next episode and talk about Let It Be, starring the Beatles on the next Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that.